Welcome to the Mighty Banyans on the Bay, the faculty podcast. I'm Alicia Marcalo Harvey, assistant professor of Spanish, Portuguese, and history, and I'm here in a special edition with two guests that I'm going to introduce in a minute to talk about our new Creative Writing AOC. So we have Tom Bailey, Libertad Garcia. Will let you introduce yourself and tell us what you do at the college. Tom.
Yeah, I'm Tom Bailey. I'm professor of creative writing here at New College, and I'm a writer. I have 6 books. I write fiction, novels mostly, and creative and short stories as well. Yeah.
Libertad, tell us.
I'm doing a double major in Hispanic Studies and Creative Writing. I got into creative writing in 2024, I think fall 2024. I've been doing it consistently every semester since.
So, thank you for coming. We really appreciate this. Is the first one of a series that we're going to have on new AOCs where we'll have student and a faculty member. So I would like, first of all, to one of you tell us, or both of you telling us, what's the history of this AOC? How did this get started at New College?
Well, I think I can speak to that. So New College for years had just had sort of random creative writing classes. So you'd have a class, and mostly it was poetry for years, and maybe a fiction class or a screenplay writing class. But there was always, there were many students clamoring for an AOC or a major, and like Libertad, in creative writing. And so last year, at the beginning of last year, we instituted a full AOC in creative writing that has a more structured approach to what a major in creative writing would be, say from introductory classes to intermediate and advanced classes in poetry, creative nonfiction, and fiction, as well as special topics classes. Like we just got Libertad was in this class in the novella, which was a great class, and we'll do more of those kinds of classes. I'd like to offer another one in the fall in the novel at the undergraduate level, which is pretty spectacular. So we're opening up, and screenplay writing and maybe even genre writing of different types. So, but the important thing is to build on a foundation of introductory classes and taking not only, say, fiction, but poetry or creative nonfiction at the introductory level to find out what you might want to do or specialize in as you work towards a thesis.
Great. So what's your experience with this creative writing AOC, Libertad?
In my first semester, it was for me mostly just like excited to get anything written at all. And I usually always like to, before I did like very fictional world sort of thing, but when I heard it was more going to be not so much genre but like beginning with own experience, I thought that would be very fun to do.
Yeah.
So like I started, the first project I misunderstood. I thought it was like going to be like 10 pages, but we started with shorts. So then I cut it down to like 2 pages, 3 pages. And that was accidentally like the best thing that could have happened, because I ended up cutting it down to like the best part.
Great. So far with the experience that you had classes in poetry, right, and also short stories. So what side of creative writing do you enjoy the most?
I did poetry very briefly for intro. I'd never done poetry before, but that made it really fun. But mostly what I did was short stories. I did in like an advanced short story, then the novella class last semester, which for me was probably the most fun class to have taken, because you can see the evolution of a single story throughout an entire semester. And also seeing even how my classmates would change it. Sometimes they'd make very cutthroat decisions and like redo the entire thing, and it was fantastic to see them do that.
So it was a really good hands-on experience.
Well, you have to realize too, Libertad wrote a 96-page novella? 96 pages in one semester.
That's a lot.
Now that's extraordinary. And not just 96 random pages, 96 pages that work together beautifully, I will say, in her work, to create a single effect. which is extraordinary, really. I mean, that's thesis length. And you're
Yes.
writing that early in your career, so a lot of these writers have already got a thesis-length work in the works as they're going along.
Fantastic. So tell us, what is it about? Now I'm intrigued. I want to know.
Let's see how you do with this one.
Okay, so it's a story of, for legal reasons, it is loosely based on my family, but through the perspective of my younger sister. So a fictional version of me exists in the story, but through the perspective of my younger sibling, right? And so it's my younger sibling interacting with the people around her during a time which was like in 2017, which was a very like stressful time. They have to they overhear the adults talking about very serious situations, and then they have to translate it back into their mind. They're like 11 years old in the story, so they have to translate what is going on in their head, and I'm doing this through little girl's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes she hears something she doesn't like, and so she just like skips over it or tries to like grab what she wants to understand. But as the story goes on, she can't keep just living in that childhood dream, because she's getting older and she's smart, even though she actively tries not to be.
Right. Reality catches up with her.
So it's
No, the genius of Libertad's piece is Libertad can do voices. She's a master of voices. And so she could do the older sister, but by choosing that younger sister, she gets the vehicle of that innocence. And then she works that innocence all the way through. So the reader knows much more than the younger narrator knows. And yet we still have the discovery with the younger narrator as we go along. So it's not young adult fiction, it's literature.
Right.
Mhm.
No, that's great. And why did you choose? I mean, I'm interested on that choice, because I personally prefer to read things that are written from a perspective not the writer as the protagonist. I like this angle. So how did you come to decide that it was going to be your younger sister's voice rather than your own?
The idea began in a class previous to that, in the spring semester, when we were doing a short story. And one of the stories I decided to do is just in the perspective of my younger sister. It was a much shorter story, right? And in it, the main idea basically is just that we are like in an event where like it's one of those, like church events. But the theme is that every person there gets to bring food like to a potluck of their own culture. So this is, the Sacramento Valley, where there's many Hispanic cultures there. And my younger sister wants desperately to be Mexican. She just thinks it is cooler. She's like, not Colombian. No, I want to be Mexican, which is the dominant Hispanic culture
of course, in the United
West
States.
Coast.
Yeah, in the United
most
States.
of the United States too.
Yeah.
So writing in that voice was so fun that afterwards, when I had the idea for a novella, I'm like, which voice I would gladly do for a novella's length? It's going to be that voice.
Right. I'm wondering, is this a story you read for the Hispanic heritage?
No, but my sister appears as a character at some point.
That's what I thought. Right. Okay.
Libertad has interconnected characters. So she's working in that vein of Louise Erdrich's I Love Medicine, or so she's creating an entire world.
Right.
So even though she has a novella, she also has these stories that you could see would work very well together as a novel and novella and stories. She's already working towards a first book.
That's fantastic. So congratulations for that big milestone. So Tom, I wanted to ask you, what is the class that you enjoy? I'm sure you're going to tell me all your classes, you love them, but which one is the one that you enjoyed or you have enjoyed the most so far, the ones that you teach?
Well, I really enjoyed the novella class. I mean, that was fascinating. I'm a novelist, really. I mean, I've written a lot of books on short stories, and I write short stories, but I really think of myself as a novelist, and most students that enter into creative writing, they really think of themselves as novelists too. They want to write novels, but you can't write a novel until you learn, the basics. So I enjoyed novella very much, but I tell you the truth, Libertad is my TA in intro to fiction, and I get a kick out of intro, and I think I was just talking to a new student, I think it's because it reminds me of me. I didn't know anything. I knew nothing. And I came in, and I just, every time the teacher talked, and every time we read a new story out of the Best American Stories or something, I was just wide-eyed. And I see that. I see that in our class, who has a very good intro class. And they're so ambitious, and they're already writing, I mean, this is unusual. They're writing 9-page stories, 13-page stories right out of the blocks.
Wow.
I mean, that's extraordinary. It speaks to their ambition. And but I've written 3 books for intro. And I think, and a lot of professors don't want to teach intro. They're like, give that to the TAs. But no. I mean, because if I teach them really well, if we learn the basics of how fiction works, and there is a way that it works, it's not just writing anything, and we understand that, then when I get them in intermediate or advanced, then they're prepared to handle it. But if you have a weak intro class, then the upper classes, I spend all my time going back and doing what I should have been done in intro. And so I have to say, I enjoy all of them in different ways.
Great. And so on your role as TA, what's your experience been?
It's been fun. Sometimes I am like just doing the behind the scenes things, little bit of just kind of like handling emails or something.
Right, so you're like an
copying. I've got stories about Libertad copying that I can tell.
I didn't know how to collate.
So she was on the floor of the office, and she had them all the stories spread out, and she's doing them by hand. I'm like, I sent her to copy. It's been an hour and a half.
So lesson 1, right?
Well, I'll tell you, the lesson for me was, you give Libertad a job to do, she will get it done. It may not be like it should be done, but it will get done.
Right. Well, that's a creative mind, I mean, it's thinking outside the box. That kind of comes with the job description,
yes,
right?
It's learning.
Yes, exactly. So, Tom, tell us a little bit more about your experience, because I know you've written some books exactly on the pedagogical side, along with your novels. So, tell me a little bit about your process on the writing, your writing process, whether it's fiction or nonfiction.
Well, I was saying to the advanced class, we have an advanced short story class right now, very talented group, and they're all in. And I was saying, I said, the difference between me and the rest of your professors? I said, I'm doing what you're doing. No different. I'm not doing some research that you don't really understand anyway. I am working on this novel every single day. And what I believe is that I believe you lead by example. Not everybody will follow, but the ones that are ambitious and wish to do this, they get it. And I write every single day. I always say, I don't take days off. In fact, when I get a day off, what do I do more? Write. Because you can't be a novelist and not write. I don't understand. And they learned that in novella. If you don't keep up the pace, and keep in the story will slip away from you. So I try to write, even if I'm really busy, like today, I'll get in an hour, and that's all I need to stay in it. And then this weekend I can pour it on and do, 5-6 hour stretch in the afternoon. But this new novel I'm working on, The Waters of Our Belonging, is 400 pages. That's a lot of pages. And I'm reworking it, and a lot of things are shifting. I introduced a new character. What I'm trying to say is that I have to stay in the dream. That's the most important thing. So I keep this journal, I'll be smoking a cigar in my truck and writing notes to myself, or just thinking about a single sentence. And I do that. I tell them that all the time. I will walk around with, like a poet, I will walk around with a sentence in my head. But that sentence isn't so important as it is the discipline and the magic of staying in the dream. And you have to, but you can, see, it's weird. Students have a difficult time sitting down to write. Well, you know how you dispel that, you take that away, is you just say, well, every day at 3 o'clock I'm going to write from 3 to 4. And no matter what happens, at 3 to 4, you write. Somebody wants to go to the store or something, you say, well, I can go at 4. And that instilling that kind of discipline for yourself will probably work in your life in every subject you're taking. But, to show them that writing is a process, you have to learn, and you have to teach yourself your own process. what works for me, and Libertad's great talking about this, you know, she writes in a closet. You know, she can tell you more about that. But, you know, like, you know, do you write at night? Do you write at the morning? They seem like silly questions, but I find that they are really important questions. Until you train yourself, like I can now train myself almost like a meditation. I can sit down and try to immediately go into the meditation place because I've been thinking about it. It's not like I don't know what I'm going to do. I know what I want to do. This sentence, say. And now I sit down. And now I know I've only got an hour or so, but I'm concentrated on this thing that I want to get done. Or if it's larger and I'm busting out new territory, you know, new stuff. You know, just a little each day. Isaac Dennison says, I write each day, a little each day. I like that. A little each day, without hope and without despair.
Yeah.
But a page a day is 7 pages a week. You know, you double that, and you got 14 pages a week.
Yes.
So, right, the discipline of it, I think, is just end process are very, very important to learn and to lead by example in that way.
Right. Well, you touch on a really important point because I think that there is, you know, among the general public, this idea that writing is something you do when you're inspired, you know. I mean, I think this inspiration thing is a myth, you know, like
Yeah.
you say, you have to write every day, otherwise you're not going to get anything done. And how do you approach this?
For me, like I do write every day. Most of the time it's not very good, but when I usually the next day is when I can have a fresher look at it. Maybe the first day I'm like, this is great, and the next day I'm like, no. or one day I'm like, this is terrible, I should have been, I don't know, computer major, computer science major or something. And then the next day I go, oh, this is really good, I just edit this. And the parts that I edit out, I put it in a document or save it because I might go back to it. It might be the start of a different story. So I still keep it. For me, sometimes I just kind of like try to think of, don't think too much of the idea that it is homework and I have to send out because academic, but this is just what I like to do. This is, I'm working to do something that I love. I'm working to get better. So I try not to look at it as a task that I need to.
That's
Well, you hear what she's saying. She just spoke about process.
Yes.
That's exactly what, you know, Libertad's are great at this. I mean, so she's working at her process. She's finding the process that works for her, and she works at it.
Great. So speaking of process, I have this question because I see that sometimes students have trouble with this. In creative writing, when you're taking these classes, you have to take criticism, right? Because you're writing, you know, feedback that's to help them. But sometimes that's hard to hear. So I want to hear from you, both of your perspectives. How do you do this as a professor, and how do you take this as a student?
Well, Libertad, we saw two very different examples yesterday. We saw Libertad is in the advanced class, and then she's TAing the intro. So the advanced class, they're very well schooled. So, you know, they can conduct a workshop. Their job is to give their specific lines, specific criticism, not just opinion, you know, like I hate stories about grandmothers, you know, but something specific about it. And that's a different kind of workshop, right? Because then what's going to happen is that student is going to listen and then come to me, and I do a million conferences, you know, because that's the best way to teach writing. And so they come to me, and then I help them hear. Because all criticism is not created equal, right? I mean, some of them are just, that's not right. But in my opinion, that's not an opinion. And then we get to intro, and we're starting with stories, and they love the gimmicks. They love gimmicks, you know, like the refrain that comes back like a children's book, you know. And I'm telling you, I said to Libertad yesterday, that's the day you earn your money as TA or, you know, professor, because that's the day you have to, everybody's like, oh, this is so great. And you're like, oh, yeah, it is. Yeah. But, and then you've got to go at it. And you know, you'll feel I felt the resistance in the room because, and so I can't just teach by authority. You know, I said that to Alicia. I said, well, I got the books and I got the PhD, but it's not my opinion. And so now what you have to do is you have to show them, it can't be abstract. It has to be on the page and it has to be specific. For instance, you have to show them, say, the way showing a picture's worth 1,000 words works so much better than telling, and you can show them. And then you hear them go, relax. And then something has been achieved. They've learned something. Now, can they do it right away? Maybe not. But they now understand that showing's the important thing. Yeah, and in my job, you're always going to have disgruntled students who say, well, Bailey doesn't like this. Well, that's silly. I neither like it nor dislike it. What I look at is what's on the page. Right. It's not, I don't care what you write about, but if you're going to do a science fiction piece, there's got to be something in it that how. Gavin asked me yesterday, Gavin Redder, who's another one of our fine writers, and he said, it sounds like you're giving rules. I said, there are no rules. I said, but there are a lot of things to think about.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah.
So that's called an education, and it is what we're doing in the AOC, which is training them to be writers.
Yes, that's fantastic. So tell me, how do you take the criticism when you see the pages with the markings?
I don't it's not like I receive the drafts and then immediately start changing things. First, after the workshop day, then we schedule a meeting and I go with him over the specific things. Or sometimes there's students who are saying the criticism, but maybe they're not saying it in a way that I understand. And they goes, okay, fundamentally what they're saying is this part. Or maybe there's just a part that they didn't understand. And because when you write, for me that's one of the hardest things. When you're writing, the story is so clear in your head, but it needs to get across.
Right.
And so maybe afterwards I'm like, how did they not get it? It's so obvious. Right. And then I go back and no, that was not obvious at all. That happened in your head.
Right. Absolutely, because of going from your head to the paper, it's a whole process, as you said, and that's something that has to be learned. And and by doing, and in your case, guiding, it's the way.
Well, it has everything to do, right? This is just back to basic creative writing. It has everything to do when you're drafting your intention.
Yes.
But the workshop lets you, this is what I said, and the workshop says, this is what I heard. And you have to reconcile those two things. And that's why you must, I always say, to be a great writer, you have, and Libertad is, you have to be coachable. And and yes, it's right to be disappointed, and well, that's not what I meant to do. But as long as you don't insist on it, as long as you're willing to come to conference and listen and say, well, Libertad had a specific example in her novella where she wanted a younger character, kept saying, I wish to be Mexican. And I was like, because I don't know. I'm ignorant. And I was like, well, why? And she just thought it was clear, or Argentinian, or what was the difference? I don't know. It would be like saying South Carolina to Mississippi. I just didn't understand the differences. They were obvious to her. And so in the rewrite, she's gone back and worked at that to make it clear for others.
Right, yes. That was something that works subconsciously. You assume a lot of things.
Right.
So even if it's reading out loud, I grab my younger sister. It's like, sit down, I'm going to read you this draft.
Right.
And they're like, okay. And they pull up a video game and they're playing in the video game. And I'm reading out loud and go, wait, no, that's not right. And I go back and I'm editing it. My sister's only half listening. Or sometimes I think she's only half listening. And out of nowhere, she looks at me and goes, wait, why would they say that? And it just kind of startles me. And then I go, what? And they go, yes, because in the previous chapter you said, and turns out they have been listening this entire time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they point out to me something just about just something simple, something logical. Because it's not like I am just writing for other writers. I want it to be at least understandable for
just the general public.
Well, she just used a big word there. It's the logical. I will tell you, that is the thing in novellas, certainly we saw all the time. In stories you see it too, is just the logic of the story. There has to be the logic to it. And you have to make that logic clear.
Yes.
Now, you try to do it in a way that's not so blatant as you're just saying it, right? But you must know, say, the Mexican part of it, that's now a glowing signifier inside the piece. And now you're very aware of that. And I know Libertad is, she made all these notes and everything, but that's what you do. That's what I do as a novelist, So because I've got a huge wall map on my wall, 8x8, and I have all the chapters and everything up there, because when I'm sitting there at the desk and I'm at 268 or something, I can't remember when the last reference to this was. But I look at that map, just sitting at my desk, I can look at that map and go, oh, it's 66. Yeah, who was talking? And now I know, and now I can proceed with that. I'm honing in on the logic of it,
Right.
so that it all clicks together.
Yeah.
Because that's, of course, what a work of art does.
Yes.
It's the taming of chaos. It's not chaos.
Exactly, yeah, because it has to make sense within the story. You know, a lot of things don't have to be realistic in a
No.
world. It has to be realistic within the fiction. So you touch on a very important
The science
point
fiction
there.
story we read in
Yeah.
a workshop yesterday, but it must have its own logic.
Yes.
You can't just put a camel in there.
Yes. Well, I mean, Ursula Le Guin must be like the best example of, like, you know, how, you know, she creates these worlds that are just like completely
Oh, yes.
amazing. But it's the
It's all
logic.
logic.
The logic that she has is just absolutely amazing. That she can create something like that, and you get into her writing, and you know, get into her logic, which is admittedly not easy to do. But once you do, you get into it.
Well, the world is established through the logic. We read The Ones Who Walk Away from Mamalis. And, you know, she starts off creating and making you believe in the logic of this world, and then she pulls the rug out from under you, and she
Yes.
says, hey, what else do you want in this world? But at that point, you're so believing in the
Yes.
unbelievable, you know, you suspended your disbelief. You're like, take me to your leader. And you just, you follow her out to the end until the very emotional ending there,
Yes, absolutely. Well,
which is what she's going for.
yes, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you both for coming. This was a really great conversation, and I wish you the best in the future, Libertad. You know, sounds like you were
Thank
good
you.
to an really good start. And Tom, thank you for coming
Thank
and
you.
talking about this great program. And to you and you're listening to our podcast. If you have any questions, you have, you know, want to know more about this Creative Writing AOC, probably Tom would be the person to email. So please feel free to do that if you want to know more, and come and join us at New College. This is a wonderful program if you are interested in creative writing. So until next time, I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you at the next faculty podcast.